And once we were getting to the end of the film, I was like, wow, I got to go speak about this on my podcast and I got to go do my thing. And I'm like, I was like, oh no, well, wait a minute. Like, I'm a comedian, like you may or may not know Johnathan Ramcharan of Johnathan Ramcharan, the podcast here. I'm a comedian. I'm an actor. I'm a podcaster. And my podcast takes on comedic elements. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go podcast about this and talk about it. But I mean, it's kind of hard to drum up some humor around, child sex trafficking. It's not exactly easy, right? I'm like, well, how am I going to portray this? You know what I mean? Anyway, let's get into it a little bit here, So, first of all, I hear about Sound of Freedom. People are talking about it. It's getting a buzz. Sound of Freedom. It's about Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad, human trafficking, a film of faith, a film of importance. 2 thumbs up. Great reviews. Go see Sound of Freedom. I'm like, oh, sounds interesting. So I type in Sound of Freedom on Google, Sound of Freedom. Hit send. The movie poster splashes across my screen. I'm just like, ah! Ah! I'm looking, I was like, wait a minute, is that a same-sex couple? It's like some dude holding, like 2 dudes, one dude's hugging on some kid, and there's another dude standing next to him, like 2 dudes and a kid, right? I'm like, ah! Ah! I'm like, is this film about a same-sex couple? Sound of Freedom? The sound of a same-sex couple? That's a same-sex couple if I ever seen one. 2 dudes hugging on a kid. I'm screaming, right? I'm screaming my head off. I'm screaming bloody murder. I mean, just ask my neighbor. I'm in there screaming. My neighbor's like knocking on the door. Johnathan, what's going on in there? I'm like, ah! And he breaks in, right? Boom! Boom! He comes to the front door, my neighbor, and he's like, Johnathan, what's going on? And I'm like, ah! Ah! And I'm pointing at my computer, right? And my neighbor, he looks at the computer, and my neighbor's like, ah! And I'm like, ah! And we're like, ah! Sound of Freedom? What is a film about 2 same-sex couple? Same-sex couple, like, if you see the movie poster, the little kid getting hugged by some guy and some other dude standing next to him, ah! But then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. I'm looking, right? And I'm like, Jim Caviezel. Yeah, it's Jim Caviezel. The Passion of the Christ. The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh, Jim Caviezel's in it. Wait a minute. Jim Caviezel. If he's in it, it's got to be pretty good, right? Wait, Jim Caviezel. And then I look even closer, and I see Angel Studios. Hey, Angel Studios. I heard of them. The Chosen. They're doing like they did this biblical series, and really well done and well received, well produced, well acted. The Chosen. I've been meaning to check that out. I was like, wait a minute. Then I look even closer, and I'm like, wait a minute. Hey, wait, no, that's a father. That's a father and okay, well, there's a father and a son hugging on one another, and then, well, that's like a CIA, that's like a government, that's like a special agent or something. Jim Caviezel's character. He's holding a gun. Oh, okay. Phew. False alarm, because I thought at first blush, it looks like a film about, some same-sex couple or some shit, right? Ah! So I'm like, okay, phew. Sound of Freedom, all right. I even prayed to God about it, or I prayed to the comedy gods. Well, I mean, I am a man of faith, and a lot of these viewers a lot of us talking here may be people of faith. So, I mean, I guess I am monotheism. I mean, so I wasn't really praying to the comedy. I guess I was praying to God. God's pretty funny too, you know what I mean? Like just God, G-O-D. He's pretty funny. He has like a way of showing you how dumb you are, and if you really pay attention, he's quite funny. But, so anyway, I was praying to God. I was like, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And on the podcast today, Johnathan Ramcharan, the podcast, please help me be as funny as I want to be. If there's a way I can spare, let me spare. If I could spare Jim Caviezel, Angel Studios, the whole team. If there's a way I could spare them, Lord, let me spare them from the unrelenting eye of comedy. If I can spare them, if I can save them, let me save them. Amen. I mean, I tried. You know what I mean? But God, you know, is like, oh man, you go do your thing. Well, I guess he didn't say that. I just assumed. But you know what I mean? Like Jim Caviezel, if you're watching, or Angel Studios, I hope you guys can level with me. Like, I'm in a hell of a position. I'm in a heck of a position myself. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes as a comedian, you got to take, like, I mean, it's a part of my comedic due diligence, duty, and dedication to, you know, drop it like it's hot. Do my comedic thing. What I feel is humorous and what I see as my God-given gift of gab, of being a comedic jackanape, right? So I got to go up there and do my thing. And I hope you can level with me. Jim, Angel Studios, hope you guys can level with me, bud. I mean, how do you think I feel? Just look at it from my perspective for 1 minute. How do you think I feel? You know what I mean? You know, it's like, I got to go out here and, you know, make fun of a hero of mine, Jim Caviezel. I put him up there as one of the best actors of his generation, The Passion of the Christ. He played Jesus Christ. He played that role with grace, dedication, grit, tenacity. I heard him talking about it on the Jordan Peterson podcast. I didn't know. I mean, I assumed. There were so many. I remember. I recently watched it. I watched it this past Christmas, I believe. And I remember watching it, and it was like the first time after many times of viewing it that I was like, oh, like, it must have been very grueling. There was a physical aspect to it. The beating scenes, the cross, the crucifixion scenes, you know, they drop the cross, they bang the cross, and he's carrying the cross, they're banging it on him, and he's, you know, there was a lot of physical, gut-wrenching gore that went into that performance. He bled for that performance, right? So, you know, it's like, how do you think I feel making fun of one of, you know, he's a hero of mine. Jim, I would love to work with you someday, or if, you know, if I get the chance, you know, I'm kind of busy doing my thing as well, but if an opportunity should occur, I'd be open to working with Jim, or, you know, I'd love to work with Jim or Angel Studios. I mean, you know, work depending, you know what I mean? It's a, you know, two-way street. I mean, you know, I understand, right? Love to work with them someday, right? And how do you think I feel making fun of heroes of mine? You know what I mean? Angel Studios, you know, The Chosen, you know, like, that's a great series that people are talking about. They're coming off the heels of Sound of Freedom, great film. Like, how do you think I feel having to, you know, chop into it a little bit here with comedic, you know? But like I said, I got a duty, due diligence, and dedication, you know, to, you know, got that gift to gab to, you know, do this comedy shit. You know what I mean? Not exactly easy on me. You know, I don't want to have to make fun of a hero of mine, you know? That's what a lot of people don't understand about comics. I don't want to do it. And then when you watch Sound of Freedom, at the end, Jim gives a very moving speech. You know, it's a little bonus feature to the film. Jim takes the time out to do a very moving speech. And, you know, I mean, first of all, one thing I noticed about Jim Caviezel, you know, like as I mentioned, he's one of the greatest actors of his generation, for sure. And amongst some of the great actors of his generation, for example, like a Johnny Depp, I mean, I noticed something about Jim. Jim's got a bit of that Depp Down syndrome. You ever notice Johnny Depp has a bit of a Down syndrome when it comes to, like, talking? A bit of that Depp Down syndrome is what I call it. You know, you ever see Johnny Depp in interview? Be like, all right, so Johnny Depp, tell us, your fans want to know, what is your favorite color? Johnny Depp will be like, interesting enough. My favorite color, my favorite color is, oddly enough, is well, quite turquoise. So, hey, wait a minute, Johnny Depp, give it a break, all right, buddy? I've seen Edward Scissorhands. I've seen Neverland. I've seen Black Mass. I've seen Blow. I've seen Donnie Brasco. I've seen it all, buddy. All right? You're a phenomenal actor. What's with this stuttering Stanley routine? This stuttering, stammering Stanley mumbo jumbo. Give it a break. Oh, I get it. You're so fucking talented that, it's like you're a stuttering mess in everyday life, but get you in front of a camera and all of a sudden you're fucking fireworks, right? Same thing with Jim Caviezel, I noticed, It's like I've seen him in Passion of the Christ, The Count of Monte Cristo, all his film work through the years. Yet, when he goes to give this speech, he's a bit of a hi, everyone. My name is Jim. It's Jim. We're here to talk about the human trafficking situation. Spit it out, Junior. What the hell you got to say, buddy? Come on. I mean, weren't you just dazzling me for the last 2 hours? Like, I just saw the man dazzle me for 2 hours. This touching, intense portrayal of Tim Ballard. I know him as one of the greatest actors of his generation, The Passion of the Christ. Now, here he is before me. My name is stuttering and stammering and going on. Come on, buddy. And again, Jim, level with me, bud. Level with me, buddy. Come on, please. I saw him on the Russell Brand podcast. And on the Russell Brand podcast, he had mentioned that he had started his career in comedy. So come on, Jim. I hope you can level with me, bud. Should you catch wind of this. I mean, you know how comedy works, buddy. At some point, there's got to be a victim. Fortunately, at this moment, you're the victim. You know what I mean? So level with me, bud. Come on. I got my message that I want to get out there too, Sure, it's not as noble as the work you've been doing, but come on. So anyway, stuttering and making this speech. Then he goes on to quote, how people should take action and how people can change the world, like some of the greatest people who have changed the world. He starts naming off people, and he mentioned Steve Jobs. It's like, Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs? Come on. That guy was a creep. Wasn't Steve Jobs a grade A creep? That guy was a creepazoid, wasn't he? Steve Jobs? I'm like, Steve Jobs? He's responsible for the tablet that half these fucking perverts are watching this child porn on to begin with. Wasn't for tablets, people couldn't go hide in a bush and watch kiddie porn. You know what I mean? I was like, bit of a creep, isn't he? Hey, I don't want to go saying shit about the dead, you know what I mean? But, I don't know, from all accounts, a bit of a weirdo, wasn't he? Maybe not in the sense of, some of the things that we're talking about with, Sound of Freedom. Not a creep in that sense, but just you wouldn't want to work with the guy. Just those tucked in pants and them fucking John Lennon glasses. You want to be around that guy, would you? I wouldn't want to be. A bit of a creep. Anyway, he's singing the praises of fucking Steve Jobs. Then he goes into, Harriet Tubman. Or no. He goes into Harriet Beecher Stowe. And he's singing the praises of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Now, that's a contentious point, depending on what side of the aisle you sit on. Now, a lot of people consider Uncle Tom's Cabin, I've read it, they consider it to be like a landmark book, landmark novel, speaking up for racial equality and issues in, the United States of America and extendably the world. That's one argument. But the other argument was wasn't she a bit of a leftist leaning, little lily-livered, she was a race mixer. That's what she was, if you ask me. She was into that black, she was getting some black, that's why she had to go write this book. she was just some liberal white chick who didn't know dick about dick. She didn't know diddly squat. Then she goes, writes this stupid book about, trying to portray what it's like. Oh, massa, I never leave your side. No way, no how, massa. No, I'm Uncle Tom. I'm going to stay at the cow. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, sorry, boss. I know, boss, you can't afford to keep me on as a slave now. But, I am the reverend of this here congregation of slaves, and I will stay and be a dutiful slave to you, free of charge, boss. Yes, boss. Like Uncle Tom, he's like this reverend, pillar of the community. He's like a slave. And then during the time of Uncle Tom's Cabin, like slavery was on its way to getting abolished. Some people were free, some people weren't, some people were running away. And it's like Uncle Tom, and oddly enough, Uncle Tom, the phrase Uncle Tom, the slang, the slandering, the insult, Uncle Tom, that insult is one that's like, oh, you're a black person that, you act white and you're against your race and you're like you're highbrow and you're whitewashed and you hate your own kind. Yeah, you hate your own kind and you go against your own kind. You're an Uncle Tom. But it's like, if you actually read the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, it's like he was a pillar of the community. He loved black people and he stood up for his community and gave like spiritual guidance and support. But anyways, Harriet Beecher Stowe, she was a bit of a race mixer, if you ask me. She was into black guys. So then, she's like this liberal white chick who don't know shit about shit. She writes this fucking book. It's based on nothing. Just a bunch of her own, we should be nice to people. It's based on mumbo jumbo. She writes this fucking book and then everyone's like, oh, it's so great. But she was just trying to fuck black guys, It was the only way she could justify it to her parents. She was a race mixer. You know what I mean? And as legend has it, James Baldwin? James Baldwin, the black poet, he debated, William F. Buckley. William F. Buckley. He was like a debater. He debated William F. Buckley. He was a poet. I guess he wrote some manuscript. I am not your Negro. You're not my Negro. I don't want you to be my Negro. That guy's a creep. That guy was another creep. A grade A creep. That James Baldwin? Well, apparently, Harriet Beecher Stowe was dating James Baldwin. She turned him gay. Yeah, she turned him gay. She turned James Baldwin gay. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the writer of Uncle Tom's Cabin, was dating James Baldwin and turned him gay. I am not your Negro. I don't want you to be my Negro, you fucking creep. Go on with you. Get the hell out of here, buddy. You want to be my Negro? I don't want you to be my Negro, buddy. Get out of here, creep. Harriet Beecher Stowe turned him gay, according to some of my research. And again, according to my research. That's according to my research. Again. So anyway, Jim Caviezel, he's going on and on about Uncle Tom's Cabin. I was like, well, kind of a dumb book, isn't it? But that's one perspective. But again, like some people loved it and whatever. And then, and then they do this thing where it's like, let's pay it forward, and hey, God bless Jim Caviezel and God bless Angel Studios. I mean, this is the decent thing to do. They want to get the message out there. They want to get as many people seeing it as possible. So they created an opportunity for people, should they have the extra resources, they could set up sort of like a pay it forward system where you could buy a ticket for someone in need. That way they could go and see the film, right? But and again, that's a very decent and considerate thing to do for their audience. What other films do that? You never see The Incredible Hulk. Hey, I'm Hulk. Hulk smash. Hulk understand that people can't buy movie ticket to go see Hulk. And they can't go and hang out with Wolverine. Hulk, that make Hulk sad. Hulk want to buy people movie ticket. Like, you never see the Incredible Hulk buying people movie tickets, do you? Right? So it is kind of a nice thing that they extend to, accommodate their audience. Jim, Angel Studios, they set up a pay it forward system where you can buy a ticket for someone in need to see the film. But my whole thing is like, look, buddy, if you can't afford a $7 movie ticket, chances are you're being human trafficked your damn self. I mean, come on. You can't afford $7 to go and support a noble cause, a film about faith, a film about, God, God's children. God's children are not for sale. That's one of the messages of the film. You can't spend $7 to go support a film of such nobility and importance. And chances are you're being human trafficked yourself if you don't got $7 to go see a movie. You know what I mean? And I'm a millennial. I get it. It's tough. It's tough. Most people can't even own their first home until, who knows? People are unable to own their first home like never before. Inflation, prices go up, jobs, this going away, that, like it's not exactly the easiest time. But if you don't got $7 to go see a movie, come off it. 2 tears in a bucket, motherfuck it. Just go buy a ticket. Go buy a ticket for someone else if you want to, I guess. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion on that. So in summation, 2 thumbs up, 4 stars, or 10 stars. Stars galore. Sound of Freedom. You will not regret it. It's a film of importance, well acted, well produced, and it deals with issues of our time. It's a very important film to see. Sound of Freedom. Hallelujah.